Dr. Rollin had analyzed 347 worlds in his career. Not one of them had prepared him for this. The scanner array hummed as it processed data from the third planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Standard protocol for newly discovered systems. He expected the usual readings. Lifeless rock, maybe some microbes if they were lucky. Instead, his display showed numbers that made him check the equipment twice. "This cannot be right," he muttered, his three-fingered hands dancing across the controls. The planet registered atmospheric oxygen at 21%. Volcanic activity across 17 major fault lines. Temperature variations of 70 degrees between seasons. Gravity at 1.2 standard units. Radiation bombardment from a partially shielded magnetosphere. Every single parameter fell into the red zone. "Shurith, you need to see this." Rollin activated the communication link to the High Arbiter's office. The elderly Vithrian appeared on screen, her silver scales dulled with age. "What is it, Rollin?" "I have the quarterly reports to review. I have found a Class 9 Deathworld." That got her attention. Shurith leaned forward. "Class 9? Are you certain?" "The readings are consistent across all metrics. This world should not support complex life. The environmental pressures alone would crush most known species." He transferred the data to her terminal. "But there is more." Shurith's eyes widened as she reviewed the information. "These biosignatures. Rollin, this shows a thriving biosphere. Indeed, and an intelligent species." Silence filled the channel. Class 9 death worlds were rare enough. Finding one with intelligent life was unprecedented. The implications were staggering. What kind of species could evolve in such conditions? Shurith asked quietly. Rollin pulled up the visual scans. Structures dotted the planet's surface. Cities, clearly planned and organized. Agricultural zones stretching across entire continents. And there, in orbit, primitive spacecraft and stations. "They call themselves humans," Rollin said, accessing the linguistic database that had been passively collecting their transmissions. "They have reached early space-age development on a Class 9 world." Shurith's voice carried a note of disbelief. "Show me their physiology." The scans revealed bipedal creatures. 2 arms, 2 legs, forward-facing eyes. Predator traits, Rollin noted. But that was not unusual. What caught his attention was their baseline biology. "Their resting body temperature is 310 Kelvin, he said. "They maintain this through internal regulation, even in extreme external conditions. That would kill a Vithrian in hours. Their muscular structure is dense. Carbon-based skeletal system reinforced with calcium compounds. They process oxygen through a dual-pump cardiovascular system. Shurith, their baseline strength exceeds our enhanced security personnel." The High Arbiter sat back in her chair. "What are you telling me, Rollin?" "I'm telling you that this species evolved to survive conditions that we classify as uninhabitable. They did not just survive. They thrived. They built civilizations. They reached for the stars." He paused. "And based on their cultural transmissions, they believe their world is normal." Normal? They have no frame of reference. They have never encountered another species. Every human measures themselves only against other humans and their environment. They do not know that what they consider average would be exceptional anywhere else in the galaxy. Shurith was quiet for a long moment. "Rollin, what do you recommend?" "We need to establish contact. But we must proceed with caution. A species that evolved on a Class 9 death world will have developed traits we cannot predict. They may be aggressive. They may view us as threats or prey. Or they may be reasonable beings who simply had the misfortune of evolving in hell." Shurith's tone was firm. "We are the Galactic Council. We do not judge species by their origins. Prepare a first contact team. Standard protocols. With respect, High Arbiter, there is nothing standard about this situation. Then we adapt, just as they clearly have." Shurith's expression softened. "Rollin, I understand your concern, but we cannot let fear guide us. Send the preliminary contact package. Let us see how they respond." Rollin nodded slowly. He began composing the message. Mathematical principles. Universal constants. An invitation to communicate. Simple concepts that any spacefaring species would understand. He transmitted the package and waited. The response came faster than expected. 17 minutes. The humans had been monitoring their system, just as the Council monitored theirs. Smart, cautious, good signs. The message was enthusiastic, almost eager. The humans expressed excitement at contact. They welcomed the Council's communication. They wanted to share information, culture, knowledge. They seemed genuinely thrilled to discover they were not alone in the universe. Roland found himself relaxing slightly. Perhaps these deathworlders were not the aggressive warriors he had feared. Perhaps their harsh world had taught them cooperation rather than conquest. They have agreed to a meeting, he informed Shurith. They are inviting us to their orbital station. Excellent. I will send Ambassador Trill. She has experience with first contacts. Should we not send a military escort? Roland, if these humans wanted to harm us, they would simply invite us to their planet's surface. From what you have shown me, that alone would be a death sentence for most of our species. No, if they're inviting us to neutral ground, it is a gesture of goodwill. We should respond in kind. After the call ended, Roland looked at the image of Earth on his screen, blue and green and white, swirling with storms that would tear apart most spacecraft. Beautiful and terrible. Somewhere down there, humans live their lives. They raised families, built homes, dreamed of the stars. They had no idea that their normal was everyone else's nightmare. They had never measured their own power because they had nothing to measure against. That, Roland thought, might be the most dangerous thing about them, or perhaps it might be their saving grace. Ambassador Trill checked her environmental suit for the third time. The readings were stable, but her nerves were not. The docking tunnel connected her small diplomatic vessel to the human orbital station. Through the viewport, she could see the structure. It was elegant in a utilitarian way, solar panels extending like wings, modules connected in a logical pattern. Primitive by Council standards, but functional. Her security officer, a hulking Dranith named Poke, stood beside her. Even he looked nervous. Ambassador, are you certain about this? Poke asked. We have no idea what to expect. That is the nature of first contact, old friend. Trill straightened her shoulders. Besides, Dr. Rollins' analysis suggests they are peaceful. Dr. Rollin also said they evolved on a world that should have killed them. All the more reason to make a good impression. The airlock cycled. Trill took a breath, her gills fluttering with anxiety, and stepped through that a human waited on the other side. She was small. At least, smaller than Trill had expected based on the physical data. Brown hair pulled back in a simple tie. Dark eyes that crinkled at the corners. She wore a simple blue uniform with patches and symbols Trill did not recognize. And she was smiling. Ambassador Trill? I am Dr. Amy Ross. Welcome to Harmony Station. The human extended her hand. Trill stared at it. The cultural database had mentioned this gesture. A greeting, a show of peaceful intent. She reached out her own manipulator and made contact. The human's grip was warm and strong. Trill felt the power in those fingers, even though Amy was clearly being gentle. It was like being held by a construction servo set to minimum pressure. Thank you for having us, Trill managed. Are you kidding? This is the most exciting thing that's ever happened. Amy's enthusiasm was palpable. We've been dreaming about this moment for generations. Come on, let me show you around. Can I get you anything? We have water, some juice, tea if you drink hot liquids. I'm fine, thank you. Amy led them through the station. She talked constantly, pointing out various sections, explaining their research, asking questions about the council. Trill found herself relaxing despite her initial fears. This human seemed genuinely kind. They passed through a common area where other humans gathered. One of them, a tall man with dark skin, was casually lifting a supply crate that Trill knew weighed at least 80 kilograms. He made it look effortless. When he noticed them, he smiled and waved. That's Patterson, Amy explained. He's on cargo rotation today. That container, Trill said carefully. How heavy is it? Amy glanced at it. Oh, those are the standard supply units. About 180 pounds? Maybe 200 with the new equipment inside. Why? Trill did the conversion in her head. 80 to 90 kilograms. This human was moving it with one hand. No reason. Just curious about your logistics. They continued the tour. The temperature in different sections varied more than Trill found comfortable. When she mentioned it, Amy looked concerned. Oh, I'm sorry. We keep the lab sections cooler for the equipment. Is it too cold for you? I can grab you a jacket. This is cold for you. Well, it's about 65 degrees. A bit chilly, but not bad. Amy rubbed her arms. Oh, I guess I'm used to it. I grew up in Minnesota. You should see winter there. Trill checked her suit sensors. 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Roughly 18 degrees Celsius. That was well below comfortable range for most species. This human thought it was merely a bit chilly. In the science lab, Amy showed them various experiments. She picked up samples, adjusted equipment, all while discussing her work on protein structures. At one point, she opened a pressure vessel that Trill knew required significant force. Amy did it with the casual ease of opening a door. Your strength, Trill said, trying to sound casual. Is it enhanced? Genetic modification or mechanical assistance? Amy laughed. No, nothing like that. I mean, I go to the gym a few times a week, but I'm not particularly strong. My brother would laugh if he heard you say that. He's the athlete in the family. Poke stepped forward. Dr. Ross, would you mind if I asked about your world's gravity? Earth? Sure. It's 1G, standard gravity. What? 1G, Poke repeated. He looked at Trill. In their language, he added, Ambassador, 1G is zero point 0.2 above standard council gravity. Trill felt her scales ripple. These humans lived and worked in enhanced gravity every day of their lives. They thought it was normal. Dr. Ross, Trill said, what is your planet's surface temperature range? Oh, it varies a lot depending on where you are. At the equator, it can get up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. At the poles, -60 or so. Most people live in between. Comfortable range is usually 60 to 80 degrees. Trill did the conversions. 49 degrees Celsius to -51, a range of 100 degrees. And humans considered the middle of that comfortable. Your world, Trill said slowly. Do you consider it a harsh environment? Amy seemed surprised by the question. I mean, we have natural disasters. Hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, that kind of thing. And some regions are more extreme than others. But harsh? I don't know. It's home. It's all we've ever known. She smiled. Why do you ask? Simple curiosity. They spent another hour touring the station. Amy introduced them to more crew members. Every human they met was friendly, eager to talk, excited about the contact. They offered food, shared stories, asked endless questions about other worlds and species. Yes, they prepared to depart. Amy gave Trill a small gift. A book, she explained. Human literature. Something to help them understand human culture. Thank you, Trill said sincerely. You have been most welcoming. Of course. You're our first alien visitors. We want to make a good impression. Amy's smile was warm. I hope this is the start of a long friendship. Back on her ship, Trill composed her report to the council. She chose her words carefully. The humans are kind. They were generous. They were enthusiastic about peaceful contact. They were also absurdly, impossibly strong and resilient. And they had absolutely no idea. The Galactic Games had been a tradition for 2 centuries. A friendly competition between species. A celebration of diversity and unity. Wilson Hayes bounced on his toes, stretching his legs, completely unaware that he was about to terrify an entire galaxy. You ready for this? Harper Lee asked, adjusting her running shoes. She was grinning, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Are you kidding? This is amazing. Wilson looked around at the other athletes. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some had 4 legs. Others had wings. One species seemed to float rather than walk. I just hope we don't embarrass ourselves. Speak for yourself. I plan to give them a good show. The opening ceremony had been beautiful. Speeches about unity and friendship. Wilson had been genuinely moved. Now, standing in the athlete preparation area, he felt grateful to be part of something bigger than himself. A Vithrian official approached them with what looked like a medical scanner. Excuse me, human athletes. We need to perform standard health assessments before competition. Sure, no problem. Wilson stood still while the device hummed over his body. The official's scales shifted color. He checked the readout, then scanned Wilson again. Is something wrong? Wilson asked. This device must be malfunctioning. It shows your bone density at levels we usually only see in species from high-gravity worlds. The official adjusted the scanner. And your muscle fiber concentration is registering as enhanced. Enhanced? Like artificially? Yes. Do you use biological augmentation? Wilson laughed. No, man. I'm totally natural. I mean, I train a lot, but no drugs or anything like that. The official looked to Harper. And you? Same. All natural. I run cross-country back home. That's it. Cross-country? This is a terrain sport. Yeah. Usually 5 to 10 kilometers over hills and trails. Sometimes longer for marathons. The official's scales went pale. You run 10 kilometers. For sport. On a high-gravity world. Well, yeah. It's fun. More officials gathered. They spoke in hushed tones, checking and rechecking the data. Finally, they cleared Wilson and Harper to compete, though they still looked concerned. The first event was endurance running. 5 laps around a standard track. Wilson lined up with athletes from 12 other species. He smiled at the Dranith beside him, who nodded back nervously. The starting signal sounded. Wilson took off at what he considered a comfortable pace. Not sprinting, just a good steady run. He wanted to save energy for the later events. By the second lap, he realized something was wrong. He was alone. He glanced back and saw the other athletes far behind, some already showing signs of fatigue. He slowed down, concerned. Had he accidentally gone too fast? He did not want to be rude. Harper passed him on the inside lane. She was barely breathing hard. Don't slow down on my account, she called out, grinning. They finished within seconds of each other. The third-place finisher came in nearly a full lap behind them. The crowd was silent. Then someone started clapping. Soon the entire arena was applauding, but Wilson noticed it sounded more shocked than celebratory. Did we do something wrong? He asked Harper quietly. I don't think so. Maybe they're just not used to our running style. The strength competition was next. Athletes had to lift and carry weighted containers across a measured distance. Wilson approached the first weight. The official said it was set at standard competition level, that he lifted it easily. Too easily. It felt like lifting a bag of groceries. Is this the right weight? He asked. The official checked. Yes. 50 standard units. Wilson did not know what a standard unit was, but this could not be right. He carried the weight across the course without strain. When he set it down, he saw the other competitors struggling with identical containers that a Vithrian athlete collapsed halfway across. Medical teams rushed to help. Wilson felt terrible. Should I help? No. An official said quickly. You have completed your turn. Please return to the waiting area. Harper came over, looking confused. Wilson, I think something weird is going on. Did that feel way too light to you? Yeah. I thought maybe they made it easy for the first round. A council medical officer approached them. She was an older Vithrian, her scales deep blue with age. Human athletes, may I speak with you privately? They followed her to a quiet room. She pulled up a holographic display. I need you to understand something. What you just did in those events. The other species here train for years to achieve those results. Some use performance-enhancing technology. You did it casually, naturally. Wilson frowned. But we weren't even trying that hard. Exactly. That is what concerns us. She pulled up their medical scans. Your physiology is extraordinary. Your bone structure, muscle density, cardiovascular efficiency, oxygen processing capability. You are built like endurance predators designed for a high-gravity, high-oxygen environment. But that's just normal for humans, Harper said. No, it is normal for you because you have never known anything else. But in galactic terms, you are exceptional. The medical officer's expression was kind but serious. Tell me, what is normal gravity on Earth? 1G, Wilson said. One standard council gravity is 0.8 of your 1G. You live and train in 25% higher gravity than most species can tolerate. Harper's eyes widened. Wait, so when we run back home, you are effectively training with resistance weights all the time. Your entire life is strength conditioning. The officer showed them more data. And this does not account for your temperature regulation, radiation resistance, or healing capabilities. Wilson sat down heavily. Are you saying we have an unfair advantage? I am saying you do not know your own capabilities because you have never had anyone weaker to compare against. Every human measures themselves against other humans. You have no frame of reference. So what do we do? Harper asked. You compete. You show us what humanity can do. But please understand that you are not normal. You are products of a world that would kill most of us. You are deathworlders. Wilson and Harper looked at each other. We're just regular people, Wilson said quietly. That, the medical officer replied, is what makes you so remarkable. And frankly, so terrifying. Commander Vorth slammed his fist on the conference table. The metal dented under the impact. They are lying, he growled. No species is this friendly without ulterior motives. Bernard Cole sat across from the Draxian military officer, hands folded calmly on the table. He had been a diplomat for 20 years. He had negotiated treaties, resolved conflicts, mediated disputes. But this was testing his patience. Commander Vorth, I assure you, humanity has no hidden agenda. We simply want peaceful relations with the Galactic Council and all its member species. Peaceful. Vorth's mandibles clicked with agitation. You claim peace while hiding your true military capabilities. We have seen your athletes. We have read your history. You are apex predators pretending to be herbivores. Our athletes are just people who enjoy sports. And our history. Bernard paused. Our history is our history. We do not hide it. Exactly. Vorth pulled up a holographic display. You fought 2 planetary wars within a single generation. Conflicts that killed millions. You survived ice ages that should have caused extinction. You endured plagues that would have wiped out any other species. He leaned forward. And you speak of these things as if they are normal. They're normal. For us. Every species has struggles. Not like yours. Vorth switched the display to show Earth's environmental data. Your world is classified as Class 9 Death World. Do you understand what that means? It means 98% of known species would die on your planet's surface within hours. Yet you build cities there. You raise children there. You call it home. Bernard felt a headache forming. Commander, I do not understand what you want from me. The truth. Your real combat capabilities. Your actual strength measurements. Your military doctrine. Vorth's voice rose. Stop pretending you are weak. We are not pretending anything. We have shared all our data openly. You share data showing humans can survive in environments lethal to others. You showed us athletes who outperform enhanced soldiers. You gave us history files depicting wars fought with primitive weapons that would be considered weapons of mass destruction by our standards. Vorth's claws scraped across the table. And then you smile and offer us tea. Bernard took a slow breath. Commander, I think there has been a fundamental misunderstanding. Humans are not hiding our capabilities. We genuinely do not know what you want us to measure because we have never had to measure ourselves against anyone but ourselves. That is exactly what a strategically superior force would say. Or it is what a species that evolve alone would say. Bernard pulled up his own display. Let me ask you something. What is your planet's gravity? 0.7 standard units. Ours is 1.2. What is your comfortable temperature range? 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. Ours is 10 to 35, depending on the region. Some humans live comfortably in areas that reach 40 degrees or drop to -40. Bernard met Vorth's eyes. These are not military secrets. This is just how we live. We did not choose to evolve on a harsh world. We did not design ourselves to be strong. We simply adapted to survive, just like any species would. But you adapted beyond all reasonable limits. Based on whose limits? Yours. Bernard shook his head. Commander, you are judging us by standards we have never known. When a human child lifts a heavy box, they do not think about how their bone density allows it. When a human runs a marathon, they do not consider their cardiovascular efficiency. We just do these things because we can, because everyone around us can. Vorth was quiet for a moment. You truly do not understand, do you? Understand what? How terrifying you are. Vorth's tone shifted less aggressive now, almost weary. Ambassador Cole, my people have been spacefaring for 6,000 years. In that time, we have encountered hundreds of species. We have seen the gentle and the aggressive, the weak and the strong. But we have never encountered anything like humanity. We're just trying to be good neighbors. That is what frightens us most. Vorth pulled up another file. Do you know what happens when a species gains power? They use it. They expand. They conquer. It is natural. It is expected. But you, he gestured at the display, showing human cultural data. You created stories about responsibility. You developed philosophies about protecting the weak. You built institutions dedicated to helping others. And you did all of this while being strong enough to dominate anyone you met. Bernard felt something shift in his understanding. You are afraid because we could be dangerous, but choose not to be. We are afraid because you do not even know you are dangerous. A species that understands its power can be negotiated with, can be predicted. But you? Vorth's mandibles clicked rapidly. You have no upper limit because you have never needed to find one. You have never measured your full capabilities because you have never fought someone weaker. Every conflict in your history was against equals. Other humans, your own environment. You have no concept of restraint because you have never needed it. The room was silent. So what do we do? Bernard asked quietly. I do not know. We're sat back. My government wants me to prepare defensive measures. Other species are forming packs. Everyone is waiting for humans to reveal their true nature. Our true nature is what you have seen. Kindness, curiosity, a desire for friendship. Perhaps, or perhaps you have not yet realized what you are capable of. Vorth stood. I hope, for all our sakes, that you never do. After the Draxian left, Bernard sat alone in the conference room. He pulled up files on human history. Wars and conflicts, yes, but also cooperation. Aid programs, rescue missions, humans traveling to dangerous places to help strangers. He thought about the athletes who had been confused by their own success. About Dr. Amy Ross offering tea to nervous aliens. About children on Earth playing in gravity that would crush most species. Vorth was right about one thing. Humans had never measured their own power. They had been too busy measuring their compassion, their creativity, their capacity for growth. Bernard just hoped the galaxy would give them time to prove that those measurements mattered more. The alarm cut through Nadia Park's sleep like a knife. She rolled out of bed, already reaching for her communicator before her eyes fully opened. Years of emergency response training had made it instinct. Park here. Nadia, it's Robert. We have a situation at Gateway Station. She was pulling on clothes as he talked. Robert Fisher's voice was tense, but controlled. He was her partner on the engineering response team. If he was calling at 3 in the morning, it was bad. What kind of situation? Reactor breach in Section 7. Coolant failure. Temperature is hitting critical and radiation is spiking. Nadia's blood went cold. Section 7 was the Joint Research Wing. Over 40 scientists from a dozen species worked there. Casualties, 47 trapped. They managed to seal this section before evacuation, but Robert paused. Nadia, the council engineers say there's no way to extract them. The radiation and heat levels are lethal. Lethal for who? For everyone. They have already declared a loss. Nadia was moving, grabbing her gear bag. Where are you? Loading Bay 3. I figured you would say that. I will be there in 10 minutes. She made an 8. Robert was already in the shuttle, running pre-flight checks. He looked up when she entered, his weathered face grim but determined. You know this is crazy, right? He said. Probably. Nadia strapped into the co-pilot's seat. But we have to try. That's what I told the council coordinator. He said we would die before we reached the breach point. He doesn't know humans very well. They launched. Gateway Station hung in orbit like a metal flower, beautiful and deadly. As they approached, Nadia pulled up the section schematics. The numbers were bad. Temperature at 200 degrees Celsius and climbing. Radiation at levels that would kill most species in minutes. We will need the heavy suits, Robert said. Already loaded them. Class 5 environmental protection. That will give us maybe an hour before the heat gets through. Then we work fast. The council coordinator, a nervous Vithrian named Salith, met them at the dock. This is suicide. I cannot authorize this. You don't have to, Nadia said, already pulling on the protective gear. We are volunteers. We know the risks. But the radiation alone will be unpleasant. We know. Robert sealed his helmet. Are you going to help us, or keep arguing? Salith looked between them, then at the display showing the trapped researchers. What do you need? Remote access to the reactor controls and a clear path to the manual override systems. You will have it. The heat hit them the moment they entered Section 7. Even through the suit, Nadia felt it like standing too close to a furnace. Her heads-up display showed external temperature at 215 degrees and rising. Radiation levels are climbing, Robert said. We have 40 minutes before our suits start to degrade. Then we better move. They pushed through corridors filled with steam and smoke. The emergency lighting flickered, casting everything in red. Nadia's hands worked on autopilot, her engineering training taking over. Seal this breach. Reroute that coolant line. Bypass the damage control system. Robert worked beside her, their movements coordinated from years of practice. They did not need to talk much. Each knew what the other would do. 20 minutes in, Nadia's suit alarm started going off. Heat warning. Radiation warning. Oxygen consumption higher than normal. She ignored them all. We need to get the primary coolant flowing again, she said, examining the damaged systems. The secondary pumps are fried. Manual activation? Only way. The manual controls were in the reactor chamber itself, where the temperature peaked at 240 degrees, where radiation was high enough to kill an unprotected human in under 5 minutes. They went in anyway. Nadia felt the heat through every layer of protection. Sweat poured down her face. Her hands shook as she worked the manual controls. Beside her, Robert was doing the same, both of them forcing the damaged systems to obey. Got it, Robert shouted. Coolant is flowing. The temperature began to drop. Slowly, too slowly. We need to evacuate the researchers, Nadia said. The section is stabilizing, but will take hours to reach safe levels for most species. They made their way to the sealed refuge where the scientists had gathered. Nadia overrode the locks. Inside, 47 beings from a dozen worlds huddled together. They looked terrified. We are getting you out, Nadia said simply. One by one, they carried the researchers through the damaged section. Some could walk. Others needed to be carried. Nadia felt her muscles burning with effort, her lungs aching from the hot air, her skin prickling from radiation exposure. She kept going. Robert was limping. His suit had taken damage. But he kept moving, kept carrying people to safety. 6 hours. That was how long it took to evacuate everyone. 6 hours in conditions that should have killed them in one dot. When the last researcher was safe, Nadia and Robert collapsed in the medical bay. The council doctors swarmed them, scanners beeping frantically. This is impossible, one doctor said. The radiation exposure alone, you should be dead. We are fine, Nadia said. Her voice was hoarse. Just tired. Fine? You have radiation burns. Heat damage. Your suits are falling apart. You worked for 6 hours in conditions that would kill most species in 6 minutes. Robert managed a weak smile. Yeah, it was pretty hot in there. Got protocols for worse back home, though. The doctor stared at him. Protocols for worse. We have volcanoes, reactor accidents, chemical spills. It happens. You deal with it. Robert shrugged, then winced at the pain. Someone has to help, right? Later, after the medical treatment, Nadia stood at the observation window, looking at Section 7. Teams were working to fully repair it. Everyone they had saved was recovering. No lives lost. Ambassador Trill approached quietly. Nadia, what you and Robert did today. The council has no words. We just did our job. Your job is to walk into hell and save people. Nadia thought about that. If that is where people need saving, then yes. That is the job. And it does not frighten you. Of course it frightens us. But fear is not a good reason to do nothing. Nadia turned to face the ambassador. Is this about us being human again? About us being stronger than we should be? Trill's scales rippled. It is about us realizing what that strength means. You could have left them, declared it impossible like everyone else did. But you did not even hesitate. They needed help. And that, Trill said softly, is why you terrify us. Not because of what you can do, but because you will do it. Every time, without question. 6 months had passed since the Gateway Station rescue. Dr. Rollin stood before the full Galactic Council, preparing to deliver his final assessment on humanity. The chamber was packed. Every species wanted to hear this. High Arbiter Shurith called the session to order. Dr. Rollin, you have spent considerable time studying the human species. The Council awaits your conclusions. Rollin activated his presentation. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. Beautiful and terrible. Honored Council members, I have completed my analysis. What I have discovered is both remarkable and concerning. He paused. Humans are exactly what we feared, and nothing like we expected. Murmurs filled the chamber. Let me start with the facts. Humans evolved on a Class 9 Deathworld. Their baseline physical capabilities exceed most species' enhanced performance. They possess strength, endurance, and resilience that should be impossible for a species of their size. They can survive and function in environmental conditions lethal to 98% of known life. Commander Vorth leaned forward in his seat. We know this already. Tell us what it means. It means humans are apex predators in every measurable sense. But here is what makes them unique. Rollin changed the display to show data graphs. We have tested human capabilities extensively over these past months. Athletic performance, cognitive function, stress response, adaptation rates. In every test, we found the same pattern, which is, Shurith asked, we cannot find their limits. Every human we test shows potential for growth. They adapt to challenges. They improve with training. We have not discovered a ceiling to their development because they have never needed to find one. The chamber erupted in concerned whispers. Furthermore, Rollin continued, humans measure themselves only against each other and their environment. They have no frame of reference for weakness because everyone they know is similarly capable. A human who considers themselves average would be exceptional anywhere else in the galaxy. This confirms our concerns, Vorth said. They are a threat. Are they? Ambassador Trill stood. If I may, Dr. Rollin. Rollin nodded, and Trill took the floor. I have worked closely with humans for 6 months. I have observed them in casual settings, in competitions, in crisis situations. Yes, they are physically formidable. But that is not the scariest thing about them. She pulled up her own data. The scariest thing is their consistent choice of kindness over force. Choice, someone called out. How can we trust their choices? Because we have seen them tested. At Gateway Station, engineers Nadia Park and Robert Fisher risked their lives to save researchers from species they had just met. They walked into lethal conditions without hesitation. Not for glory, not for reward, but because people needed help. Trill's voice was firm. I have watched human athletes genuinely concerned that they might have embarrassed other competitors. I have seen human children share toys with alien visitors. I have observed human diplomats maintain patience in the face of accusations and fear. She looked around the chamber. Every species here has stories of conflict in their history. Wars over resources. Territorial disputas. We understand violence because we have all practiced it. Humans are no different, but they're also the only species that evolved the concept of heroism, of self-sacrifice for strangers, of protecting the weak not because it benefits them, but because they believe it is right. Pretty words, Vorth said, but words are not guarantees. No, actions are. Dr. Amy Ross entered the chamber. She had been invited as a human representative. Commander Vorth, you have been suspicious of us from the start. I understand why. We look like predators because we are predators. Our world made us strong because anything else would have died. You are right to be cautious. She moved to the center of the chamber, small compared to many of the beings present, yet somehow commanding attention. But here is what you need to understand. Yes, we are strong. Yes, we can be dangerous. Yes, we have never measured our full capabilities. But we also never measured our capacity for compassion, and that grew without limits too. Amy's voice was calm, but passionate. Every human child is taught to help those who fall, to share with those who have less, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. These are not just rules. They are who we are. How can we be certain you will not change? Someone asked. You cannot. Just like we cannot be certain about you. Trust is not about certainty. It is about choice. Amy smiled. We choose to trust you. We hope you will choose to trust us. Rollin stepped forward again. If I may offer a recommendation. The Council has a tradition of appointing peacekeepers, species who maintain order and protect others. I propose we extend this role to humanity. The chamber exploded with reactions. Shurith raised her hand for silence. Dr. Rollin, you propose we give the most physically capable species in known space a position of authority? I propose we recognize what they already are. Humans do not need permission to be protectors. They will do it anyway. We saw that at Gateway Station. Better to formalize it, to give them a place where their unique capabilities serve everyone. And if they abuse this position, Vorth asked, then we will have been wrong. But I do not believe we are wrong. Rollin looked at Amy. They have power they do not understand. But they also have restraint they do not recognize. That combination is rare, perhaps unique. The vote was close. Many species were still afraid. But in the end, the Council agreed. Humanity would become galactic peacekeepers, protectors of the weak, defenders of those who could not defend themselves. When Amy was informed, her reaction was characteristically human. We're just being decent. Isn't everyone? Rollin updated his files on humanity. Under classification, he wrote, Class 9 Deathworld, Home of Humanity, Galactic Guardians, Apex Predators who choose kindness, unmeasured power, unlimited compassion. And at the bottom, a personal note, the scariest truth about humans is not that they have never measured their own power. It is that they have never needed to, because they were too busy measuring how much they could help others. May we all learn from their example. The file was sealed and sent to the permanent council archives that I in the chamber. Amy accepted the guardian designation with a smile and a simple promise. We will do our best. That is all any of us can do. And somehow, the galaxy believed her.